Well, thank you, everyone. Let's resume, and I'll ask Baroness Bashar to open the questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Blair, before break, you said that the military options were discussed at Crawford.
Yes, it was obviously a possibility that military action would be the outcome of what was going to happen, and so there was a general discussion of the possibility of going down the military route, but obviously we were arguing very much for that to be if the UN route failed.
Okay. I think for reasons we'll come onto later, I think you were being pressed by the Ministry of Defence to decide in autumn 2002 what scale of package the UK will be prepared to contribute to the event in the event of military action. I think we've also heard that there were essentially 4 possible military packages under consideration, with the main discussion focused on the 2 larger possible packages, the key issue being whether we should contribute an armoured division. And I think your Chief of Staff told us that the MOD had advocated the largest package, the large land force option, because they felt that this was important to their relations with the US military, and also because they felt it would help army morale. Now, as you well know, a decision to commit troops to battle put individual soldiers in harm's way and therefore cannot be taken lightly. How do you weigh the risks of troops involved in a large-scale land operation as opposed to the one of the other packages against the advice you were getting about the importance of military relations with the US and the morale?
Baroness, the first thing to do is to work out whether you believe that you're right to be in this at all. Right. Then the next question is, if you are right to be in it, what is your level of support? And in any occasion, and I ended up in several occasions taking military action, Kosovo, Sierra Leone, Afghanistan, Iraq, the first thing I do, in a sense, is to say to the military themselves.
Now, maybe be specific about Iraq, because I'm asking in terms of, how did you weigh up the risk that troops involved in the situation in Iraq?
As I was just explaining, when I come to take this decision, the very first thing I do is I ask the military for their view. And their view in this instance was that they were up for doing it, and that they preferred to be right at the centre of things. Now, that actually, I'm not hiding behind them, because that was my view too. I thought if it was right for us to be in it, we should be in it there, alongside our principal ally, the United States. I thought that in Afghanistan, and I thought that in Iraq also.
So that was your view too. So you were at one with what you were being advised on.
Correct.
Did President Bush at any stage request a particular form of scale of the UK contribution?
No. He very much left this to us to decide what we wanted to do. But I had, taken a view that this was something that, if it was right to do, actually it mattered to have Britain there. And it mattered not simply for reasons to do with the armed forces.
But the scale mattered, because there are different ways in which we could have contributed. But did it have to be at the large scale that we committed ourselves to?
It didn't have to be. You could have chosen one of the other 2 options. There were 3 basic options.
And why did you choose? You were advised, but you were of that view. Why were you of that view?
Because if you believe it's right, and you're going to do it, my view was that it's best for Britain to be in there right alongside. And I say that because I regarded this whole issue as a threat to our security, as well as a threat to the security of the United States of America. It's not simply that I value the alliance, although I do value the alliance, and as I always say to people, you can distance yourself from America if you want to, but you'll find it's a long way back. I believe it's a vital part of our security. And I also believe this, that if we think it's right, we should be prepared to play our part fully.
But the reasons given by the Chief of Defence Staff was about the relations and the morale. But was there a question of how much influence we'd be able to exercise if we contributed a large scale?
It wasn't so much that. I mean, it's a matter of common sense, obviously. If you're there, with a bigger force alongside the Americans than otherwise, then of course you'll be more intimately involved. But that's not really the reason. The reason was to say, here we have this situation in which we believe there's a threat, America believes there's a threat. We're going to act jointly. We've acted jointly before. We're going to act jointly again. And it doesn't part derive from the importance that certainly I attach, but I hope the country does, to the American alliance, and also to the fact that our armed forces, and it's the thing that's extraordinary about them and magnificent about them, they're prepared to do the difficult things.
So you're saying it was driven by your sense of what was the proper UK contribution to policy?
Correct.
And influence wasn't an important part of it?
You didn't and shouldn't do it for influence. Although, as I say, it stands to reason if you're making a bigger contribution, you're going to have more of a say.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Perhaps I can turn now to Sir Martin Gilbert. Martin.
Mr. Blair, I'd like to turn now to the issue of weapons of mass destruction. Once you decided in 2002 that it was essential to pursue the UN route, it was weapons of mass destruction rather than human rights or any other issue that became crucial to building the case and establishing a legal base for military action. We've been told by earlier witnesses that the information available to you on Iraq's WMD in early 2002 showed that the WMD programs, that Saddam Hussein's WMD programs, had changed very little since 1998, and also came with strong caveats about their reliability. Was that your understanding?
Yes, the principal intelligence and I think this has been disclosed in the Butler inquiry, in March 2002 was that our knowledge was sporadic and patchy, I think were the words, but it then went on to say, but it is clear that Saddam continues his program. So, Martin, can I just say one thing, though, in respect, again, of this, because it somewhat troubles me, this absolutely, as I say, almost binary distinction between regime change and WMD. It was always relevant to me because I think that it gives a different sense of the threat of the nature of Saddam's regime. The fact that there were, on some accounts, 1 million casualties in the Iran-Iraq war, 100,000 Kurds that had been killed, 100,000 killed by political killings. We'd had the Kuwait situation where, again, tens of thousands died. The actual use of chemical weapons against his own people. So I think it's always important to remember, from my perspective, the nature of the regime did make a difference to the nature of the WMD threat.